Hello, my name is Chris Davis, and I am your host of a new podcast coming to you from Auction, Ohio called Bid Talk. And so we invite you to a behind the scenes, always educational, always exciting story about who we are and where we came from and where we're heading to. And that's the essential question that we all have in life. And so as a company, we have that very same question in our identity. We are a platform that is also an auction company, and that is unique in the marketplace today. But the platform that we are is the place or space where about 45 different auction companies licensed in the state of Ohio do business. And so we're kind of a unique family. We're really different than the norm. So we are that platform where we bring to you assets that are being sold every day as the consumer and as the seller opportunity to sell your things in that same marketplace. And those 45 affiliate companies go from each corner of the state. And so we have the ability to service you regardless of where you are in the state of Ohio, not beyond at this point, but at some point beyond. So who we are, right, where we come from and where we're headed to is a little bit of what I'm going to talk about today. And we call that mission, vision, statement. It's the identity that we all put in writing. We talk about what it would really be, for us, what we would really like to be as far as a company. And we could certainly take this mission, vision and put it on our walls and put it in social media. But the intent of mission, vision is really to have that one core statement that says everything that we do in business really originates at that core, at that mission vision. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit in our inaugural podcast. This is our first, and excited about weekly coming to you with great insight, again, behind the scenes, educational. What is this auction thing? Why do they talk fast, and why don't they talk fast online? And what is an absolute auction and how do I bid, and all of those things. We're going to take deep dives into all of those conversations and bring those to you again on a weekly basis, and excited to do that. But to set the foundation, the idea today is, in this podcast, let's talk about who we are and what's important to us, and let's relay that to you, whether you're a seller or a buyer, whether you're an auction company out there, part of our world or not, maybe an interest in being part of our world. Maybe you're a partner, and a partner to us is someone who is an attorney, a real estate agent who brings opportunities to us, or we provide solutions for your clients, or an employee or a want-to-be employee that's part of Auction Ohio. We certainly are speaking to all of you, so that if that's you, then we want to again start with what is that foundation for us, and we want to make sure that we deliver that to you so that you understand when you engage with Auction Ohio what's important to us. So I'm going to talk about that cause, or that just cause and mission. So it is this: as stewards of God, our duty is to serve every person we encounter with care and integrity consistently. Now that's a mouthful. It really is at the core of what drives every decision that we make. When we decide how we're going to do business, we are stewards. We are first and foremost stewards. And in life, what we have discovered, and in business, what we have discovered, is that we really are at our best as human beings whenever we're helping other people. And so we want to make sure that that's the foundation, that that's the reason that we exist, that we come to work every day, is that we steward what's important to God, that we steward what's important to different groups of folks that we serve. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about what that's like to different groups. It's different. How we steward a seller is different than how we steward a buyer, and how we steward a partner, and how we steward an affiliate auction company. So I'm going to do a little bit of a dive into each one of those, and I want you to understand how that looks and what that means to us. So if you're a seller and you've experienced that before as in selling with Auction Ohio, or if you want to be a seller, we steward to you those things important to you. There's always a life change that happens whenever we become engaged in selling assets. And that life change can be a lot of things. It can be, someone who's lost a loved one, and what we steward to them is a little different than what we would steward to someone maybe who's the collector who's ready to downsize. They've had that collection. It's been their hobby for a lifetime. They've been collecting pottery, or they've collected NASCAR. Take your pick of any collectible categories. They've been collectors. And so those get stewarded differently. So for the seller who's lost a loved one and has to deal with those things that were important to them, we want to come along beside and be just as respectful and care just as much. And so the goal becomes not always how do we do it conveniently and easily, but how do we respect and pay tribute to those things that were important to them, and find the buyer naturally that will pay the most, but that will appreciate them just as much. So for a seller, we steward memories. We steward those things that are important. We steward your property. So in our world, we can sell things in an online format at your house, or we can move those things to our warehouse, and your home's important. We steward your privacy. We do a lot of sales in today's world where we could certainly do it at the house, and economically that might be better, but maybe that's more than a seller can live in or re-experience. And so what for them is important is how do we sell those things and they don't have to live the experience of those things selling. So sometimes we bring those things to the warehouse because while it maybe cost a little bit more, that's more important to the seller. To the same seller who still is okay to sell those things in the home, then we want to steward the home. We want to make sure we protect the home. Not only those things we're selling, but protect the home. So no sign in the yard and no address gets posted. Those kinds of things we implement as we steward what's important to a seller. To a business that's downsizing, or to a business that, over time has been birthed and grown, and the business owner looks at an exit strategy, and maybe the kids don't want to step into the business, and maybe that succession plan just didn't work out as much as we hoped that it would, or that you hoped that it would. And so for that business owner, we're looking at how do we handle those things important to them and sell those assets, so that again, whoever buys those has a use for them and is willing to pay more than anybody else. That's still the objective in our world, as we sell things on behalf of sellers. And so, business owners, that's a struggle. That's a life change, right? You built the castle and the tide is rising and the water's coming in, and you're trying with all of your might to keep the tide back, and you build a dam around your castle, when at the end of the day, that's just a part of life. That's what happens. So stepping back and enjoying the experience, that's the value. It's not the conclusion. It's not the destination. It really is the journey, right? That was the prize. So running a business, as all of us as business owners understand, we do it for the passion and for the love. So for sellers, we steward things important to them, and we can do that in a lot of different ways, but it's important to us to come along beside you to experience that with you and help you do the best in selling those assets. To a buyer, that's a different experience when we steward things to a buyer. What's important to a buyer? Time. If they're going to spend time online and researching and finding things that they want and are willing to pay to ship those things and willing to drive to go pick those things up, then time is certainly important to a buyer. And we don't want to do a job at which they go through that process. It arrives at their home or at their business, whatever it is that they've purchased, and it's just not exactly what they thought it was. And so the duty for us is to tell the story correctly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If the furniture is damaged, we're going to tell the story. We're going to take photographs that you can rely upon. And so for a buyer, time and dollars are both things that we steward equally. We want to be that company. When a buyer knows they've got a problem, they know where we are and they can contact us, and we're going to help them in a resolution as best we can to resolve those matters. To our affiliate auction companies, to those who currently work for us, we certainly are thankful that you're here, but we steward for you something completely different, and primarily that's your reputation, that's your brand. You trust that with us. You give us an opportunity to provide to you solutions and the best software available so that you can sell those things on behalf of your sellers to those folks who are your buyers, and collectively together, all of our buyers, and be the best that we can be. And again, we come back to that. We're stewards of what's important to you as an affiliate auction company. That's important to us. And so we're going to champion you always. We're going to be here as a resource. We're not going to be just a phone call away. We're going to be face-to-face when we need to be away. That's just who we are. That's how we want to, fit and feel for you as one of our affiliate auction companies. To our partners. And if you don't know what a partner is, a partner for us, again, I alluded to it earlier, is a real estate agent who is dealing with getting a home prepared to sell that maybe is just full of stuff. And what do you do with this stuff? And how do you provide a solution for your client? And so what we want to make sure of, what's imperative to us, is that when you refer that client to us, that client calls you back later after we're done and says to you, thank you so much, that was the right solution for us. That was wonderful, a wonderful experience. And so for our partners, and those partners are not just real estate agents, those are the that run downsized companies that help folks transition from where they are to where they're going to be. And that's a challenge, isn't it? I mean, the big house full of all of the stuff, and they're going to go to the smaller house, right? And most folks don't make that transition for a lot of reasons because it's just a little overwhelming. So it's important that we play a part in that, wherever that fits, whatever we can do to be of service in that partner relationship. To attorneys who are dealing with estates for their executors and administrators, for those that are dealing with trusts that need to be dissolved, for banks and their workout departments that are trying to help their borrowers find solutions so that they can continue to do business. We want to be the right partner for you. We want to champion what's important to you. We want our service to be exemplary so that you again say that's the referral that I should have made and that you're going to do that again. And then there's the last but not least, and that's our employees. And so our employees are incredibly important to us. We talk about all that we do to steward sellers and buyers and affiliate auction companies that are on our platform and partners, but our employees are most important, and here's why. Because they're the first contact for everyone that is a seller and a buyer and an affiliate auction company and a partner. And so your experience with Auction Ohio is as good as our employees. And so what we want to do for them is give them an opportunity to grow, to have a voice. We talk about, and I alluded to it earlier, right? We talk about who am I and where did I come from and where am I going as a company, right? Who are we? Where do we come from and where are we going? We want those employees to have a part in that conversation. They can't change where we came from. That's the past, right? But they help with the identity and who we are, and they certainly help with their voice and where we're headed. To our employees, we want to give them more than a job. It's more than just you come and work and we'll give you money. It really is a rewarding opportunity to be a part of a business that is exciting. And again, it's a fun place to come and work every day, or at least that's what we want it to be. So we steward things differently for everybody. If you're a seller and a buyer and in the auction business and not part of our world, if you're an attorney or a real estate agent, you've not experienced what we provide here. If you're someone on the outside that thinks that auction thing is pretty exciting, I might be interested. I don't know why they talk fast. I don't know what an absolute auction is, but I'm a little interested in that maybe as a career change. Then we invite you to continue the conversation at any time that's good for you. So that's our mission vision. That's the beginning of who we are. It's the foundation. It is the purpose in this inaugural podcast. We want to start there and build on that. And so in times, we're going to touch on that. It's always going to be at the core of what we do. Moving forward, on a weekly podcast, you're going to be introduced to some of those folks behind the scenes, some employees and some affiliate auction companies. You're going to be introduced to some partners. We're going to take some behind the scenes tours. We're going to talk about in an educational position, how's it work and why does it work and what's the history of the auction process in Ohio and where's it headed to, what's technology doing. All of those great conversations so that you can have the conversations in your world. So we're going to introduce to you next week's podcast. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk a little bit about something coming up called the Auctioneers Day. It's the National Auctioneers Day, I think appropriately described. So National Auctioneers Day happens, I believe it's the third Thursday of April and every year, and we celebrate what happens in our industry. That's going to coincide a little bit with another celebration for a lot of folks, and that's Earth Day, and what's kind of really unique, and we'll kind of tie those two things in together. But this industry that we work in, we really do more than any other industry that I know that takes things and repurposes those things, and someone else uses those things rather than they fill landfills and whatever other solutions that are available to folks to rid themselves of stuff. So we're going to talk about that coming, I think, next week in our next week's podcast. We have some great stuff coming up at auction. If you get a chance, go to our website, auctionohio.com. You're going to see some antique fire trucks that are there now. We're talking about 1930s models, Seagrave, really kind of cool, unique. These were barn finds in Logan, Ohio, and one of those opportunities for us that we get to walk through places that people haven't set foot in years and uncover things. It's kind of like that Picker show a little bit, but we get to find all of that stuff, the discovery side of it, but some really cool fire trucks. We have a 1988 Firebird as well. That's, if it's not online right now, that it's coming in the next day or two. So if you're into the muscle car side of things, we have some great real estate, 93 acres of land sitting close to Intel, just outside of Johnstown, available on 2 parcels. We have a lot of investment real estate as well on our website. And then the bulk of what we do, we sell collectibles and fire trucks and dozers and backhoes and tools. We sell all of those things, but what we sell a lot of are those things important to most folks that are utilitarian. Right? You need a TV to watch, a washer and dryer to do your clothes. You like to sit at a table for dinner. You might want to sit on a sofa. And so if you are interested in any of those kinds of things, then you'll find all of that on auctionohio.com. So we invite you to check it out. Go take a peek. We want to do a tip of the week every week. We want to talk about something that we think is maybe good for you to know if you engage with Auction Ohio. And so this week's tip is going to talk about maximum bids, or how do I bid on auctionohio.com. So aside from signing up to get a bidder number and logging in to bid, I'm going to talk about the value of a max bid when you place it in lieu of an exact bid. You can do both, and everyone has a different temperament. Everyone likes to play the game a little bit different. But what I like about a max bid is this. While you can put the exact bid in and you can watch, and if you get outbid, bid again, or you'll get a notice that says you're outbid, go bid again. And so you have to pay some attention to text messages if you sign up for that, and emails. You got to pay attention to those things. And we all know what happens in the email world. Some of that stuff goes to spam when you least expect it. You got to check your inbox and your spam box and try to find that notification. And so while that's good, and a lot of folks like that, they don't want to bid any more than the next bid, and they don't want to show their hand, so to speak. The max bid allows you to place the maximum amount that you're willing to pay, and the system bids on your behalf up to that max bid. And it only bids one more increment above the current bid. And it allows you to buy it at the cheapest price while also instructing the system to bid up to your highest price. And you don't have to go back and check it to see if you were outbid to bid again. So it's a pretty good way to make sure that you're able to buy those things that you want to buy and not miss out on those things that you want to buy. So I encourage you, when you bid again, if you're a buyer, and if you're not a buyer, I encourage you to come back, but use the max bid. And if you're ever concerned about transparency, we stand on this promise, and that is our sellers are not allowed to bid, and we're not bidding against you to run the bids up, and we don't dream up bids, and we don't have fictitious accounts on our site. We don't have folks that don't exist that are not real. So the only folks bidding against you are legitimate bidders. They've registered just like you have. And if there was ever any question about that, you're welcome to come to our office at any time, because again, we're fully transparent. We're happy to show you post-auction, the bidding activity and who those folks were. We can't give you their information, naturally. There's some privacy requirements, but nonetheless, we want to be transparent. We want you to trust us. Again, we come back to that one core vision, right? What is our just cause? We are stewards of what's important, right? To not only buyers and sellers, and we want to do that consistently every time. And that's our objective and that's our goal. So we invite you to come back next week for another podcast of Behind the Scenes. We want you to like and to share and to comment. We want you to give us your feedback. And so help us and engage with us so that we can bring you content that you want to hear about. We certainly don't want to just talk about what we want to talk about, but we invite you to be a part of the experience. And so if you want to continue the conversation, if you ever have any questions, we're always available. Thank you.